It's okay, it takes time. I know.
Welcome to anybody new to the platform, and welcome back to anybody who's been with us before. Strong is a journey that now brings men and women onto a platform that helps share real life stories. We want to be creating global communities where parents, guardians, teachers, children, the youth, we can all be working together to understand how one person's story can help bring together feelings of disconnection. We want to be supporting everybody, especially our youth, with looking at real life stories and understanding what resilience looks like over the lifespan of somebody's journey. Today brings Ali, who's based in Toronto, Canada, who grew up in the Middle East and is here to share his life story. Welcome, Ali. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Maria. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
It's so amazing to have you here, and what's even more inspiring to me is the work that you do. And today is about the person and not the professional, but we definitely want to get in touch with what you are doing on a professional level once we begin to understand who you are and what brings you to this episode. Ali, why are you here? Why do you want to be with us today?
First of all, I really want to say thank you because likewise, I am a huge fan of what you're doing. I think that it's very brave to talk about this as a parent, especially in the region. But what brings me here is pretty much because I just simply care, and I think that we don't have that many voices of men that have public platforms or that do that have leadership, positions that talk about vulnerability and masculinity. And I think that there's a little bit of shame still lingering around. Actually, there's a lot of shame, not a little bit. There's a lot of shame that revolves around, emotional, the emotional well-being of men and how to maintain one's emotional well-being. Because in reality, we're not taught that, Maria. We're not explicitly taught that growing up, and I think that this is a big challenge when we hit when we hit a wall and we kind of react in ways that I've had a lot of companions that are female and I had a lot of guy friends that really do not like speaking out to men about their emotions because of the reaction they get back. And we can sit here and blame, people like the old me that didn't know any better, or we can figure out how we can, condition and raise men to be the kind souls that they are deep inside, because no one's a bad person. It's very, very evil to think that. But some people, and many people, especially many men, do not know how to react and therefore come out in ways that become toxic and whatnot. So this isn't pointing fingers at who's to blame, but it's just important to have these conversations because this is when change really starts.
I can feel your passion for the work that you do, Ali, and I want to narrow in now on your story.
Yeah.
23 years old, living in North America, having grown up in the Middle East. How did that shape the man that you are today?
I mean, talk about identity, right? It's a very tough subject. It's a very tough subject. I think that, I landed here in Canada when I was 17, turning 18, like a month before I turned 18. This is all by I think my parents left me like a week after I turned 18. And I'm turning 24 in 2 months. And since I've just been visiting them on vacation, perhaps like 3-week holidays. But other than that, I've been living by myself. All I can say is it teaches you a lot, Maria. It teaches you about yourself. You ask very fundamental questions about your belief systems, your values, and who are you? Because I think that what has made all this different about me and why I care and why you may feel that I'm passionate is because, you know, when you feel that life isn't worth living anymore, and when you go through this very tough period of your life where, you know, many people don't make it out, and, you know, we know very personal stories around that. What makes you keep going? And, you know, that was a question that has made me who I am today, because it has to mean something to you. This life is sometimes gonna knock you down, and especially when you have no one around, and when you are the only person that is gonna save yourself. I think this fundamental answer that I reached to was to make sure that any guy feeling like that, especially guys, do not have to feel that they are weak, and they do not have to feel that there is no bright side. And I remember going through that very tough time, and my mom would send me every day, you know, the Hall of Fame, written in the Hall of Fame, the world's gonna know you. And I remember that, you know, it might sound like really weird or really stupid, but like it's super. Till today, whenever I hear that song, my heart sinks, because I remember walking to my lecture on a daily basis, and my mom would forward me that YouTube link or that link on Remy or whatever it was, and I would just listen to it, and it wasn't just a song. And that's the thing that I wanted to share is that sometimes when you're there for someone, when you repeat a word, or when you do a repetitive action and you think it's not helping or working, it actually, when they get past through it, you've anchored something that takes them back, and allows them to see their power, their evolution. And it's so beautiful. And I just wanted to share that, because I'm pretty sure some people who may be listening to us may be going through a difficult time, and this is for me how I dealt with it. And I didn't have many people around me. I believe that my mom and only my best friend were the people that really knew, because I was afraid and I was a little bit scared to, like, you know, talk about it. But that's why I became who I am, you know, and it all makes sense connecting the dots backwards.
So I'm hearing you say that you had a strong connection to your mom, and the words and the messages she would send to you kept you going. Do you feel that family relationships are key to how you were shaped into the young man you are today?
Of course, I'm raised by my mom, and my mom was raised by her dad, and my granddad was a very, 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 you know, very, I would say he was an empathetic army general, but he was also one of the strongest men to serve in the army in Egypt. And what my mom saw of from him was during the wars in Yemen, and, you know, we had this uh, huge glass window at home of all his achievements and his accomplishments and badges of honors, and I saw growing up that you can have all that, you know, sitting in a golden sort of in a gold plated sort of cabinet or glass, and still read his love letters to my grandma. And that made me realize that, like, wow, strength and being a warrior, a true warrior in life, isn't what is being fed to me. And that's how I knew that the way my mom was raising me, in terms of, you know, taking care of the words I say, and being sensitive, and being in touch with my humanity, and that winning in life, because she knows I'm such a competitive guy. She knows that whenever I win, I can never be at the expense of someone else. And there's an art to winning, whether it was in a championship in swimming, because I did swim professionally, or whether it was in getting a good grade, how to treat, how to play fair. Growing up, you know, this is how we needed to teach our kids when they're playing a football game at school, or when they lose in a swimming gala competition. There is an art to losing, and there's an art to winning, and that creates a better competitor. And why I talk about that from that language is because life is, in a way, uh, gonna beat you down, and the only way sometimes to have that inner dialogue with yourself is to understand that, just as it is important to feel good, it's important to understand how to not feel that bad when you're losing at something that you perceive to be a loss in your life.
Ali, again, just the whole connection to what you're saying. You're so young. The words feel so powerful. I want to touch in on a couple of things I heard you say so far. One of those things was talk about identity. And then there was being male and still having that shame to some of the things that you experience as a male. You had a strong family connection, great role models to look to, a lot of support through those very vulnerable stages that you went through when you moved to Canada and had to live on your own. And I know that you struggled with mental health. How did, or how do you believe that even though you had all the support that you did, how do you believe that you still fell into that darkness?
Um, Maria, for our generation, it's very tough. It's very tough because third culture kids are always constantly fighting this battle of where am I from? Why am I consuming like this media 24/7, especially when media doesn't stop. It's not a channel you you turn on at home, or it's e-news or whatever. It's literally all the accounts you follow on Instagram, and you're spending 6 hours because it's COVID, and it's ridiculous. And it shapes up your mind, and you completely live, you know. And I speak from statistics, from data points. You completely shut your phone, and you're living a different life, and you go into your phone and you're watching all this you're consuming things that sometimes make you question, am I in the right position? Am I feeling, you know am I do I really identify as X, or do I really identify as Y? It's hard because we have access to unlimited amounts of information, and we can now be living in a family that is super supportive, extremely loving. But the moment we turn our phones, and the moment we feel connected, we could be living just as awful as of a life, being bullied or harassed online, or even following the people that constantly make us feel not good because of a voice that's inside of our minds that is affirmed every single time we watch something or we consume something of our own choice, because we're alone a lot in our rooms, and we can feel that when we're living in a loving family at home, but we're in our rooms for 4 or 5 hours separated from our family, that could be our own world. So
Ali,
it,
I notice that when I'm asking you questions, you jump into the we and the we. What about
yeah,
you? What was it for you, Ali?
for me, that was the case. 100%, 100%. That was exactly the case. Um, I was living here by myself, and it was very hard. I tried. I am athletic, and I did put a very strict working out schedule for the first year in my life here in Toronto. Found it extremely hard, and I think that the gym was the only way that I could um, get out of my head, because of the endorphins. Of course, it makes you happy and it keeps you steady. But if you don't treat a wound, if you're still bleeding, no matter how much you try to mask it, no matter how much dopamine you give yourself in highs, the moment you stop that momentum is the moment you still have to face that wound.
And
And that's what I did.
do you feel that when you stopped working out that you were struggling? Is that when the darkness came in?
100%, because nothing changed. And that's when I felt that, like, that's when I kept losing hope, because I didn't know at the time when I was working out that that was a wound. I didn't. Sometimes when you're and that's why it's very important to have these conversations as men. We just know that we're not, like, we're not taught to ask ourselves those hard questions that can challenge our notions, because they're just too deep. They're too emotional. Can men really be emotional? And that's the question. uh, you know Psychosomatic symptoms um, have been discussed in the region, because sometimes uh, men go to doctors with, like, problems and challenges from a health perspective, and then doctors refer them to a psychologist, or because sometimes we are so far from the fact that we could be not okay, and do not admit to that within ourselves, and our bodies could feel otherwise. And this is it's such a deep, challenging struggle, Maria, because we might say this out loud, but the problem lies in our belief system, and that is what we need to work on. We need to work on the fact that you can be religious. I can pray, and I did. I was praying 5 times a day, and in fact, my religion also says, Islam says, you can be not okay, and it's okay to have a psychological challenge, and be mentally ill. That isn't a lack of faith. It's not. It's your biochemistry. We're human beings. We have human needs, and when they aren't met, you have imbalances, and these imbalances cause an illness. It's that simple. And we study, and we're meant to, if we really dig in. And that's why, when I lost faith in my religion and in my identity, in my everything, I even doubted my sexuality. Like, I had to understand, like, I am everything I am because of choice now, not because of my conditioning since I was a child. Because why I am that passionate is because I had to actually take a step back and think about why I belong to this, or why I believe this, or why I am this. Because when you're by yourself, no one's forcing you to do anything. You can literally choose whoever or whatever you want to become. And that's what makes you strong and powerful, is when no one's seeing you and you choose what you want to associate.
It sounds like you had quite the journey, Ali. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate the honesty that you're bringing today. What would you say is your number one challenge as a 23-year-old young man living on his own?
That in our culture today, it's the most important thing, is never to give up on your values. And I think that a lot of guys and a lot of people, not just guys, a lot of men and women, young adolescents, face the challenge of fitting in. And it's, I could say that right now, and anyone listening to me can find it easy to absorb, but it by no means easy to stand out from the crowd with a different belief or a different set of morals and still live happy.
And do you find that that's your challenge, fitting in and also
Sure.
standing out in your cultural identity, in your identity outside of your society that you grew up in?
Course, of course, I'm constantly challenged. First of all, uh, you know, my parents are now supportive 100%, but when this idea of me wanting to be a mental health ambassador, or me wanting a career in advocacy, it's like it's never been heard of. Like, what are you doing? Are you sure this can be something? Or, like, we've invested in and I love my parents, and I know they were looking out for me. And this is part of being empathetic and understanding that when objections like that come, you have to understand that that person in front of you loves you and wants the best for you. And sometimes this is the hardest challenge. It's the hardest challenge, being an Arab, and having to navigate around that, whatever that may be, whatever career choice you might have. And that is my challenge of today. That is my challenge. And I think that I've passed this hardest phase of having to explain what I'm doing, because thank God right now I've done things that I can say I'm proud of. But it was super hard. It was hard. Like, it was hard for me to stick to what I believe in, and it only gets better once you overcome this overarching sort of parabola, when you realize that, okay, now I don't have to explain, now I can just be me. But at one point, Maria, I'm pretty sure not many people get past that, because the challenge and the pressure is super hard. And and a lot of people, including friends that I love and admire, settle for just something that will, make them happy because of the pressure, make their surroundings happy, and thus make them feel comfortable because of the pressure that our culture brings. And again, this isn't me pointing fingers. I do, and I'm passionate about everything I do for a reason. And I do believe that, this is why I wake up and do what I do, and I speak the way I speak every day, is because I've seen so many guys that have walked up to me and have told me, I can't believe what you're doing. And I'm happy you're doing that, but I also really hope that one day I can find something inside and give back. And this notion of us being millennials right now and wanting to feel like we're home wherever we work, and wanting to feel that we belong because of this, incredibly challenging world we live in, where leaders aren't really performing at their best or aren't really being role models, and we're seeing that everywhere without, mentioning names. It's difficult. So when you see someone really sticking to who they are, not just me, there's so many other great people. I personally find them to be my heroes. It is not easy, but it is hella worth it.
Ali, I'm hearing so many things. I see in front of me a young man with a deep connection to his cause of supporting the youth with mental health issues. I see a young man who is a role model for being transparent and genuine and wanting to have an impact that will help somebody. I see a young man who's an entrepreneur, who's very in touch with his core values and is very aware of the requirements for empathy in order to have a ripple effect. What's missing? What am I not seeing?
That's a really good question. What are you not seeing? You're not seeing someone that has a lot of trust issues, because I do have a lot of trust issues in opening up to people. And I'm very, I'm a very gut type of person. Sometimes I open up to someone out of just like 2 conversations. Why do I have a lot of, challenges trusting people, especially like on the journey that I am on, is because I have been, when you show someone your moral compass, I've had situations whereby, you let someone beyond this certain wall that you've built with the world. Even, and by the way, you have to have some sort of a boundary with you and the world, because if you're just open and vulnerable, full stop, and you are that, it doesn't work like that. So you have to understand where to draw the lines between you and the world. Of course, the work that I'm doing, I'm trying to make as much of an impact that I am, but you also have to have time to take care of yourself and time to understand that this is when, phone is off, I'm not answering anyone, it's me time, I'm taking care of my mind, I'm educating myself, I am going to the gym, I'm working out, not to have those 6-pack hard rock abs because that's going to make me feel so much self-worth. No, if I want to have that, that's going to be a goal, but that's strictly going to be my goal because I want to be fit and I want to have that physique because it's a hobby, not because I'm attributing it to my self-worth, and not because if I don't look a certain way, then I won't be good enough. That is a very important distinction. And just like you're doing and you're setting boundaries with others, setting boundaries within yourself is good. So going back to the trust part, that's what you're not seeing. You're not seeing someone that finds it extremely hard to make meaningful or have meaningful friends and connections. Why? Because it's super challenging. I've been challenged and I've been let down, and I wish I could say why or how, but sometimes when you are very vulnerable, and this is a message for people that are very emotional and sensitive, you will find yourself opening up to people, and you can't trust someone unless you give them the benefit of the doubt and are able to take the hits when you're let down, because that will only show you you can't trust someone until you trust them. And then once you have something broken, or something that doesn't work the way that you thought it would have, you thought it was meant to work out, that's when you know when to draw the line. So it doesn't, there's no way around it. You have to experience heartbreak. You have to experience a loss of that. But what you don't see is that there has been a lot of moments, or a lot of times, where that has been hurting, and it's something that keeps me going, because it's something that allows me to discover more on what I can tolerate and what I can't. And I think that it's incredibly important for anyone that is doing meaningful work to know that the most important people are the one or two people that stick by your side. You do not need a herd, or crazy amount of people to trust. If you can find one or two people, then you have the world, because you do need a support system. And that was super hard for me to find. It's 6 years on, and I can say that I'm only 60% there, but it's a work in progress, and I'm happy with the work that I'm doing within myself. But again, Maria, the hardest thing ever is to be that vulnerable, and like have people that will show up, because again, it does get lonely sometimes, and you and I both know it. It's something that has to be a work in progress, so long as you are kind to yourself. And this is what I am learning as a man, to appreciate self-care and self-love in a way that makes me feel full. And this is a major challenge as a guy, who sees self-care and self-love on social media as such a feminine thing, or has started seeing it when I got introduced to it. And this is why Empower's branding is very bold. It's very, because this is how you should show up to yourself as a man. When you self-love, when you self-care, it's not weak to do that. In fact, it is super, super impressive to be that open with yourself, and to teach your daughters and to teach your children how to show up for themselves with love, respect, and care. And this is what I'm constantly working on. I'm not there, and I never will be, and it's a work in progress, and it's the journey that matters, and this is what I'm invested into. I hope that answers the question. I feel like I went in tangents, but it's a very tough question.
I see in front of me a strong, capable, business savvy, vulnerable young man. And I am deeply honored to have you with us today, Ali. Strong is not just about everybody watching the show and helping them. Strong is also about bringing our community to support the guests with us. How can we support you on the journey of trust, of feeling safe to let people in, knowing that you don't always have to take care of everybody else, but we can take care of you too?
Yeah. Ouch. You touched a sensitive nerve there. It's I don't think of that too often. It's an interesting take. How can I think by just doing what we're doing? I think by just, sometimes people don't really take into consideration the fact that a simple word can make someone's day. And I think that it doesn't have to be something huge, Maria. It just has to be some things that make my day for sure. Is just a nice comment, or the loveliest things. And that's what I always try to do for others as well. Just leave them a voice note in their Instagram DM. Hey, I was thinking of you. I hope you're doing well. Full stop. Like, it doesn't really have to be that much of an effort. Oh, we need to do something huge. It's the little things that matter in life, and life is so beautiful when we take care of those small things. That's where I'll leave it.
That sounds amazing, and you can count on us, Ali. Definitely. We are here to support you. Thank you so much for being with us. I could talk to you forever, but I know that you have a busy day ahead of you. So we're going to have to bring it to a close for today. I look forward to watching your journey, Ali. I look forward to seeing the positive impact and the ripple effect of the passion that you have for your work, and to believe, and I do believe, that the young people following your path have so much support ahead of them. And I just really, really hope that they're able to reach out and find the support that you so graciously give us. And
Thank you
that
so
brings us to the end of another truly inspiring episode. Thank you everyone for watching. If this was your first episode, I hope to see you again next week when we bring another brilliant, amazingly inspiring guest to our platform. Be well, be safe, and we'll see you next week.
It's so